In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. Welcome to another edition of Jock Brothers Presents Let Us Make Man. I am your host, Brother Jackie Muhammad, and we have a wonderful show for you tonight. We have two brothers who are doing some major work in our community, in the nation, and internationally. So we want to introduce our brothers to you all and get it going. If you have any questions for our brothers, please remember to send it in, Jock Nation. But before we get to our brothers, let me introduce you to another good brother. Brother from Atlanta, Georgia, a single parent who's putting that work in, raising a son. He's a go-getter. He's a businessman. He has several businesses under his belt. And our brother is putting that work in, working with the junior FOI. He is a mentor. He's my brother. He's your brother. Brother Abdul Kawi. Assalamu alaikum, sir. You are muted. You are muted, sir. You are muted. Let's get the engineer together. Let's get the engineer going. Look like we have. Okay.
Wa alaikum salam, sir. And the check will clear.
Yes, sir.
Praise be to Allah. Again, thank you, brothers, for coming to the Jock Brothers. For those that's listening, I know y'all recognize these brothers. They're internationally known now. Now we get a chance to put a face with their name, and I look forward to this show. I really do. And so I hope y'all enjoy what we have in store for you tonight. And also for those that support the Jock Brothers on a regular basis, we thank you so much. And for new viewers to the Jock Nation, welcome, and keep coming back. Now, Jock Brothers, we receive financial donations a lot, and we thank you so much. There's really no words can express how much we appreciate how we have been supported since we've been on the air. So again, that's not words adequate enough to thank you, but just know that is much appreciated. And again, continue to support the Jock Brothers in our endeavors. Those that do not have us already set up on your YouTube, on your Facebook, please set us up. If you're on YouTube, it's spelled JAKQ. I know you think Jock is spelled another way, but no, we pronounce Jock and spell Jock JAKQ. So when you look on YouTube, put up JAKQ Brothers and you'll see us. Please subscribe to us, hit the bell so you can get our upcoming shows. Now, Jock Brothers, we don't just try to be a regular podcast to just come on and give some content. We actually try to be interactive in our communities. Our initiatives is our prison initiative, in which we are attempting to get the Final Call newspaper to our brothers and sisters behind bars across the country. We had a little success with it because we have a lot of issues with chaplains and every state have their own rules, but we striving hard to make that a reality. And so we want you to get behind us in that endeavor, and please support that. So to get the Final Call newspaper behind bars to our brothers on a subscription, and we try to do subscriptions, they can get the Final Call newspaper for 90 days. 90 days for $18. For a half a year for $30. Imagine that, getting the Final Call newspaper while you're incarcerated every week for a donation of $30. Get behind that. And if you want to send support somebody for an entire year, $60 donations to get the Final Call newspaper to our brothers and sisters behind bars. They got to get informed too. They got to get the truth too. So what better way to get them baddest, boldest newspaper the world will ever see than get them? You can send your donations to the Cash App scrolling at the bottom of the screen. It is simply $ Jock Bros. $ Jock Bros. Again, JAKQ BROS. That's our Cash App. Please put in the memo if you know what you want your monies to be used for. And thank you so much for getting behind this initiative. That's what I got for you, Brother Jackie. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, Jock Nation. All right. If you ever heard, the one of the most beautiful call to prayer that bring a community together, I would like to introduce this Brother Abdul Shaheed Muhammad. He has been a registered member of the Nation of Islam since September 21st, 1993. So he got his 30 years in. He currently serves as the student minister of Holly Springs, Mississippi Study Group 78A. He also serves as a student prison reform minister, an assignment he started at Muhammad Mosque number 55 in Memphis, Tennessee, under our next guest, student minister Abdul Mutakir Muhammad. Brother Shaheed is it Muezzin? Is that correct? Muezzin, the caller to prayer on the Ummah Reflect line, which began in 2006. He is currently a host for Holly Springs Study Group 10,000 Fearless podcast, which can be heard Thursdays, 7 to 8:30 p.m. on Podbean. Brother Shaheed is a native Memphian. That means that he grew up on calling MJG like I did. And 24-year veteran police officer at the rank of sergeant for the city of Memphis. The Sex Crime Special Victims Unit. Okay. He also worked 6 years for the Shelby County Sheriff's Office Jail Division for a total of 30 years in law enforcement experience. So, and also, he is a proud owner with his wife of the Urban Indulgence, a bath and body boutique that you can order, and we will send that information out. You can, it's on the screen. You can order from our brother. So, Jock Nation, help us to receive our brother and your brother, Brother Abdul Shaheed Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam, beloved man. Praise is due to Allah. Well, I guess I should say something, but
absolutely, brother.
Absolutely. Really, brother. Let me first begin. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I certainly bear witness there is no God but He, who appeared to us in the divine personage of Master W. Farad Muhammad, the long-awaited Mahdi of the Muslims and Messiah of the Christians, and raised from among us His messenger Messiah, now the exalted Christ, Imam Mahdi, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we certainly thank him, and I could never thank him enough, for leaving an example, a man that I describe as the proof and evidence that God has in fact intervened in our affairs in the personage of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. To the brothers of Jock Nation and to your audience, I greet you all. Assalamu alaikum. And Ramadan, well, yes, still Ramadan Mubarak, going into Eid Mubarak. First of all, and first and foremost, brothers, let me extend my warmest thanks and gratitude for the invitation to be on your esteemed podcast. I've watched some of your episodes and some of your guests, and you all do a wonderful job. It's my prayers that Allah will bless you with the support that you need to take it higher and higher and higher. So, Jock Nation, y'all listening, hit the cash out now. Help the brothers out. Yes, make sure men like this stay afloat and thrive, not just stay afloat, but actually thrive. But just thank you, brothers, for having me tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you for accepting our invitation. All right. And next, we would like to introduce our brother, student minister Abdul Mutakir Muhammad, formerly Anthony Muhammad, but he got his name, praise be to Allah, from the Messiah. Ain't that something? Born and raised in Washington, D.C., his love for music and his desire to uplift his people led him to co-founding a local reggae band named Ex-Slaves in Motion. We talk about that. Me hear him say a little something. Praise Allah. His upliftment desire guided him to join the ranks of the Nation of Islam in 1983. That's early on, under our student minister Abdul Alim Muhammad. Dr. Abdul Alim Muhammad. In 1988, Dr. Muhammad sent his faithful assistant to fill the position of minister at Muhammad Mosque number 12 in Philadelphia, the top of the clock.
Yes, sir.
It was there that he became a popular civic activist, operated a soup kitchen, and spoke on several college campuses. In 1992, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan brought student minister Muthakir to Chicago as a seminary student under his tutelage. Praise be to Allah. We can talk about that. In 1992, the same year, Minister Farrakhan sent Brother Muthakir to Memphis, Muhammad Mosque number 55, where he has served as the minister for the last 30 years. It's longevity dealing with our people. Praise be to Allah. Student Minister Muthakir has become a pillar of the Memphis community and is often sought for his counsel and advice. He participates in many Islamic councils and served the poor and suffering communities of Memphis. He has also developed an outstanding ministry corps. He has a nice, what we call it on the basketball, a stick. You got student minister Abdul Shahid, student minister Ilya Rashad, student minister Demetric Muhammad, both who are on the research team of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And he also operates a school, Muhammad University of Islam, very active and well-known outreach program that feeds and serves the homeless community. He has been married for 32 years to Sister Jill Muhammad. They have 4 children. And student minister Muthakir is also the founder and host, one of the founders and hosts of the Ummah Reflect, which we hope to talk about tonight. And also, the minister told you had Brother Anthony long enough, huh?
Yes, sir. That's what he said.
That's what he said. Well, praise be to Allah. So, Jock Nation, help us to receive our brother and your brother, Brother Student Minister Abdul Muthakir Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, brothers. Praise be to Allah. Well, I guess, Brother Shahid, I should say something as well. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. There's no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his servant. I want to thank you, brothers, for having us on. Thank you for the work that you're doing in this platform, the podcast, and these things that you're doing. And may Allah continue to bless you and your listeners. And we pray that we can answer any questions you all may have or anything that you all may have. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you, sir, for coming on. So the Ummah Reflect, it has been going since 2006. It's internationally known. You attract different from all walks of life, and you have been able to get the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to open and close it. What has the Ummah Reflect, being a part of this, what has it done for you, spiritually, just socially, everything that it has gathered for you? Brother, I want to start with you, Brother Muthakir. If you could, just talk about your journey in the Ummah Reflect and your experience in it.
Well, it started out as the Ramadan prayer line. No, tsunami prayer line. That's how we started. And we started very singularly. Sister Nisa wanted to have a platform where she could speak to her children who were now going off to college.
Yes, sir.
But at the same time, the minister took ill. Minister Farrakhan took ill. So when Jamil called me, Brother Jamil who called me and wanted to know what I'd be interested in assisting in trying to put together a phone line that we can do something like this. And he and I got to talking, and we could pray for the minister. Now, mind you, Sister Nisa wanted something for her children.
Yes, sir.
Reach her children while they were in college. We had in our mind something to pray for the minister. So on the first day, I think we had a phone line of 25 or 50, maybe 100, and it was full. I mean, people couldn't get on. That's how it started, and they couldn't get on. And so we got Brother Anthony J, Brother Naeem. There were brothers who knew how to connect line. Brother Monticus and other brothers began to connect lines. So what they told us was this had never been done before. So we would take phone lines that have go conference call lines, and we would take those lines and connect those lines. It was almost like when you were young and in your bedroom, when you connected speakers, you would have 9 or 10 speakers. You would just splice them together, and it actually worked. And it started. That's how we started. We started very generic. We was on, and we had shout outs and all manner of things that we would do. But it was good for Muhammad, the nation of Islam.
Yes, sir.
So during that time, the minister wasn't coming on at that time. One day, a sister saw Sister Nisa and said to her, "Thank you for the prayer line." And Nisa was kind of taken aback because the sister wasn't in the nation. And so the sister's perplexity on her face, she said, "You are Sister Nisa, right?" She said, "Yes." "Well, thank you for the prayer line, the Ramadan prayer line." And Nisa realized that other people were listening to the prayer line, not just the nation. So she brokered the idea, why don't we open it? What do you all think about opening it up to prayer line for other communities to come in? Well, everybody agreed. We liked the idea, but there was a problem. Everything we did was kind of like Nation of Islam oriented. All that we did. So now, you invite somebody to your home, brother Kagwe, you got to clean up. You can't bring nobody in the house not clean. So we had to do some soul searching and things. And we had to take an honest look at how we were doing things. So, okay, we can't have the shout outs in the morning because people from other communities, they don't understand shout outs. So what are you going to do? We decided to play music. So Brother Shaheed is a musician, he has beautiful songs, and we will put those songs on, and those songs will allow people to know they are connected to the line, to the phone lines. But as we began to play the music, some of the music had too many beats and the minister kind of suggested to us, why don't you all take some of those songs out? That was his suggestion. And he was very considerate because he didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings about taking their personal music out. So that's how we ended up with Zayn Bikta and his music. It takes the beats out and it kind of just promotes Allah. That's how we took the shout outs out and we cleaned it up. And we lost a lot of people behind some of that because people love the shout outs and certain things. But when you're speaking to an international audience, there's a certain decorum that we have to establish.
Yes, sir.
Come on, and he would come on and open it, and he would come on and close it, and I mean, it just took off from there, brother. It just took off.
Right. So I'm assuming Brother Shaheed was there from the very beginning as well.
Yes, he was. He was behind those lines, connecting those lines. He was always the voice of the prayer. Shaheed said the prayer from day one. I mean, we was like, I don't know, brother. I don't know nobody say prayer like him. I don't know. I'm biased or I haven't been all over the world, but I know when I hear him hit certain notes on that prayer, when he calls that prayer, that's kind of what get my blood going and get me ready when I hear that in the morning. So
praise be to Allah.
Yeah, you have the job of hosting and keeping the flow going, and dealing with different speakers, dealing with different nationalities, different cultures, and it's a big job, and you do it very well. Is that on the job training, or did you have any experience before?
No, sir, brother. No, sir. Look, one day I was helping on the line, and the next day I had to host the line. Yeah. That's how I got this assignment. There was a brother that was doing it before me, and at a certain point, he couldn't do it any longer. So I got the call that you have to host a line tomorrow or now. I'm on the line, and I don't know how to do it. I have a different type of cadence and those things. And so I had to learn literally to be myself, because what ended up happening is I'm trying to be the brother who was before me. I'm trying to be him.
Yes, sir.
And the brother before me was Jamil. So now you all know how personable Jamil is. Now I'm trying to be, I'm not Jamil. So I had to literally learn to just be me, like you all learned it when you do your program, to be who you are, because that's the best way you can present yourself. And I had to learn how to just be me, not to be emotional over some people that I like. There are brothers and sisters that come on that I really enjoy. And I can't say, well, I really enjoy them. And then tomorrow the person come on and I may not enjoy that person. And, you know, oh, okay, thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
I just gotta learn to be even keeled and all of that. And that takes some work, brother, because some of the believers that come on and speak, man, it's so beautiful what they're saying. And you know, we come from a culture where you bear witness. You know what I mean? You stand up and say, "Go ahead, that's right, you bear witness." So now I can't do that. I have to kind of carry it a certain way and then move the program forward. So I can't make comments and certain things like that. You know, so it's some work to do on that.
Absolutely. All
I
right.
would like for Brother Shaheed to answer the same question though.
Yes, sir, beloved. Again, assalamu alaikum.
Wow.
As Brother Minister Muthakia stated, I was there from the beginning at the invitation of him and Brother Minister Jamil Muhammad. Of course, then I was in Memphis. I was one of his assistants, Brother Muthakia's assistants in the ministry. And I developed a desire. Well, actually, I would do it for my own personal enjoyment, and that was the Adhan. And I learned the Adhan listening at the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan make the call. And I was sitting on the parking lot the summer of 1993 with Brother Charles III Muhammad. And he had in the tape that power at last forever. And when the minister closed, he called that Adhan. And coming out of the Christian church, I was like, wow, they got a Lord's Prayer, like, because I come from the church. I sang in a community choir, I recorded with the community choir. And at family functions and whatnot, I would do the Lord's Prayer.
Yes, sir.
Of course, the Muslims having one that attracted me. So I just started doing it at home, and I patterned it off the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's call. And then, of course, I added my fingerprints on it, you know, how I would do it. And I based it on, I didn't want it to sound like our brothers from the East. I wanted to sound like what we experience as Black people. I'll put a little sauce on it, if you will.
Yes, sir.
I would do it around the mosque. And I think Brother Minister Jamil had been invited to Memphis one Sunday, and they wanted to hear me do it. So, and I would always close the local mosque meetings. So I did the Al-Fatiha, and Brother Jamil's like, okay, brother, we want you to come on and open the Tsunami Prayer Line call with prayer. And that's how we got started. And initially that was my only function, because there were other brothers who were responsible for the technical part, like Brother Martika's brother Adima out of Atlanta, Brother Anthony J, and others who were responsible for making sure the lines were connected. Okay. Then later on, I got into making sure the lines were connected when some wasn't able to do it anymore. And mind you, the prayer call starts at 5 a.m. Eastern time. So we're up at 3:15 a.m. in Memphis, making sure everything is set. And to this day, I do the same thing. And that's essentially how I got in by the invitation of Brother Minister, but the recommendation of Brother Minister Muthakia and Brother Minister Jamil agreed. And that's how I got the assignment of opening the prayer line with the Adhan and the Al-Fatiha.
Man, praise be to Allah. Now, I wanted to ask you, how do you prepare yourself at 3 a.m. to hit those notes? I mean, do you have a regiment? You know?
Yes, I did at the outset. The first from 2006 till about 2013, I think, I called the prayer live every morning. But with the advent of the technology, because our prayer call was unique in the sense that it forced the developers to, how can I say, advance their technology in terms of handling these kinds of conference calls. So the new conference call HD, they had what is called a broadcaster. And me being, you see my studio behind me, I write, arrange, and record music. I got CDs out on iTunes and whatnot. That's another thing that I do. I came out of the music world to join the nation. But that's why we mix so good. Me and Brother Muthaki. He a music man. I'm a music man. So
Praise Allah.
yes, sir. But anyway, when the technology got a bit more sophisticated with the broadcaster, gave me the ability, well, I can pre-record the Adhan and the Al-Fatiha and upload it to the broadcaster and just press play. Because that in the mornings, brother, I'd have to get up. When I was doing it live, I had to get up at 3 o'clock because I gotta, you gotta get the phlegm out of your throat and whatnot, and sleep all night, drink water and coffee and warm it up, mio, all those kinds of things. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
And when I get to round day 28, it gets rough. So, but I thank Allah for technology, because now ever so often I'll refresh them, to match my aging voice, so to speak. So the one that you hear now is not as high pitched as the original one that I did back in 2006.
Yeah. Yes,
I wanted to sound, up to date. So I'm 60 years old now. I started making the call. What? I was in my late or early 40s, mid 40s, something like that. So it's been 25 years now, or longer, that we've been doing the prayer line. But that's how all of that developed, dear brother. And it's been an honor and a pleasure. And to be quite honest with you, the next torch bearers, if you will, should be lining themselves up. Because as time goes, I don't see this line going anywhere.
Right.
Of course, we, in my mind, and Brother Muthakir, we've kind of shared the same sentiment. We need to have some young people.
Young people, yes, sir.
Technical side, callers to prayer that can pick up, the mantle or the torch and take it further and spread it throughout the world and let them know, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan opened up, there's a light over here in the West in every respect.
Do you get any this for you, Brother Muthakir, have you received any calls or anything from anyone overseas, dealing with the prayer line? Have you made friends, internationally that you didn't have before, from the prayer line, or give us some of your, some of the things that may that happened because of the prayer line that would have happened if it's one or two things or something.
Well, one of the things is you hear the music that you hear on the prayer line. Brother Zane Bikta, he was one of our guest speakers on the prayer line.
Yes,
actually, sir. And his music actually went. He sold more music, in other words, because he's an old artist, and those things were done years ago. But when through the prayer line, he heard about us, and he actually came on and spoke on our prayer line. There was a imam, and I don't know the title, but out of Mecca, that came on our prayer line and spoke. We've had a couple of spoken word artists come on our line and speak. There are a lot of people. Most Def, you all heard of Most Def. His name is not Most Def. Now he's a Muslim. Spoke on our prayer line from Morocco and others. But we've had those type of reactions to what we are doing. And it will change to Ummah Reflects, because we've trying to find or make sure build a platform that every Muslim community can come on. We actually set up one time for a Christian pastor to come on and speak during the month of Ramadan. I think he overslept, he didn't make it, but he agreed to come on.
Yes, sir.
We wanted to be where everyone can find a place. You can come here and you can speak your truth. I mean, as long as you're not being derogatory and those things. And sometimes some of the communities that come on, they may say something to try to throw a little jab here, a little jab there.
Yes,
but
sir.
we don't get caught up in that, because the whole world is listening now. And so that's why we call it the Ummah, the community. of Muslims reflects, and they can come and share what Ramadan is for them. And it's growing.
It's definitely growing. Praise be to Allah.
Yeah.
You know, I always thought that was Michael Jackson.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Many people started believe that, and there were Muslims who told me that. But when you went and looked up the song, that's when I found out actually who it was. And I told everybody who it was. It wasn't Michael Jackson, because they told us it was Michael Jackson.
Praise be to Allah. Now, dealing with your history, reading your bio, very interesting. The minister took you under his tutelage in 1992 as a seminary student. What is a seminary student? From the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Well, I was in Philadelphia, and he called me out of Philadelphia and asked me to come to Chicago. And I came to Chicago, and I would eat dinner with him practically every day.
Wow.
When he toured or traveled during that time, I would be with the E team. I would travel with them, but every day. And eating dinner with the minister and talking to him is, brother, that's something. And so on the Sundays when they had the big dinners, I was invited, and I would come and eat dinner with him and listen to the talk. I brought a big notebook, brother, not a notebook, but a tablet. I'm trying to write my notes down. And I asked the minister, brother minister, am I learning? Because like you, what is this? Am I learning what you want me to learn? And he said, brother, you won't know until you leave. So he's right. I stopped writing after that, because if he said, I'm just going to internalize everything, since I'm not going to know until I'm not here, I just want to make sure I internalize everything. And so now many times when things going in, situations come up, I can remember the minister said this, he said that, he said this, he said that. So that's what it was in that sense. I can tell you, one of the strange things about coming to Chicago, he told me every morning to report to the Supreme Captain's office.
Yes, sir.
Not the minister's office, the Supreme Captain's office.
Yes, sir.
Some found that strange, but that's what he told me to do. And so all of that, I can see now some of the things, but that's what he told me to do. Yes, and it was good for me to report to the Supreme Captain's office, because at that time, the Supreme Captain was Abdul Sharif Muhammad, who was my captain in Washington. So I was happy to go to his office because I knew him, And so it was an experience, brother. I can tell you that. It was an experience.
Now see, I was going to ask you about that, because you just spoke here and you said the same thing, but you didn't tell us why why he wanted you to report to. See, you said now you understand why. Would you mind sharing why he wanted you to report to the to Minister Abdul Sharif Muhammad?
Well, I may not want to say much on that, but I will say he's one of the hardest. He was in Chicago, one of the hardest working brothers there. In Chicago, you imagine there's one rostrum and a lot of ministers in Chicago. A lot of ministers. Yeah, so that was a little challenging. So I wasn't there for that. And the minister was my minister. So he was the one doing the teaching for me. And I think he wanted me to go to work, and so it was for me personally. I can tell you it was healing for me. I was a little wounded when I got to Chicago. Well, a lot of wounded. And
yes, sir.
Being with brother Benny Moe and those brothers, they were just real brothers, man. Real brothers.
Real brother.
Benny Moe, man, he cuss you out, and hug you at the same time. I mean, he was that kind of, he was like the brothers, like brothers, your uncle, your nephew, you know what I mean? Them kind of brothers, man, your cousins that would always be honest and straight with you, And so it was beautiful with him, and it was Brother Melvin at that time and others, Brother Ernest, and so Ernest and I came up. Ernest was the brother who checked me when I first came to the mosque. It was Brother Ernest. He was young, but he was in the nation at the time. So it was a very it was an experience. Brother Wally,
Yes, sir.
I think he's on the West Coast now with Brother Wally. And we stayed in an apartment together with Brother Wally. And so those things, when the minister sent me on a small tour to Indianapolis and Milwaukee and other places, and it was Brother Wally who would go with me. You know, Wally would always put something in my ear. He still does it to this day. If I got on the phone with Brother Wally, he's not going to let me be down. He's not going to let me be discouraged. Wally going to you know. So those kind of brothers, man, you know, as a wounded man, that's what I needed, you know, more than I knew. I didn't know that's what I needed. I couldn't have told you that, but at that time, that's what I needed. And so when I left, I felt a whole lot better, you know, like I was in rehab, if you will, trying to get it right, you know.
Well, Chicago is a meat grinder. That's what the minister say. He's a meat grinder, brother.
I can tell you, brother, Chicago, you get cut, man. You don't even know you bleed. You know what I mean? For 4 days later, your arm fall off. You know, that's how that is. And if you don't know how to navigate that, there are people that know how to navigate that. No fault of your own or no fault of their own. You just got to know how to navigate the national headquarters.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm sure if you go to the White House, it's probably the same way. Or if you go to Congress and different places, it's probably the same way. And you had to learn, you know, that's a big learning curve for a lot of people.
Praise be to Allah. Hey, Brother Kawi, my bad.
Yes, sir. No problem. No problem. Yeah, that was a good questions. Look, so you know, when the minister came, when you the first day of the Ummah Reflects, you had the minister come on, and I guess one of the orders he gave was to feed the homeless in your local cities. I mean, we most certainly did that in Atlanta. I want to know, in your cities, how did that work for you? How was you received by the public? Can you share with us what went on with that in your cities?
Yes, sir. We fed the homeless in Memphis, and the Whitehaven Study Group fed the homeless. And people just come from everywhere. Shai can tell you, probably in Holly Springs, the same thing. I don't understand certain things. I mean, 50,000. We fed 50,000 people this month. The Nation of Islam, 50,000. And those are the ones we know about in little places like Birmingham and Louisville and Lexington, small study groups. The Whitehaven Study Group in Memphis, they did over like 160 dinners. They fed 160 people. And the thing is, the believers got up for this all over the country. They got excited about going out, feeding our people. It's a beautiful experience. And I was really touched that the photos that you see on Facebook, all the cities, little small study groups with 3 or 4 people, 10 people, you see them out there feeding the homeless. It's a beautiful sight, brother. Beautiful sight.
Yes, sir. I can say the same for Holly Springs, Mississippi. I know the sisters were averaging with of course, we're assisting them, about 50 dinners per Sunday. So not having a hard number, I was looking for the text. Sister Tammy sent it to us, our sister who is the MGT coordinator. I'm thinking probably around 300 dinners we were able to distribute. And the people received us very, very well in Holly Springs, Mississippi. And it's a small city, but the Muslims have been there since the 80s. So we are a mainstay, and the Nation of Islam is a mainstay in Holly Springs. In fact, it's one of the cities where the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan started. Mississippi was where he went to essentially go underground, so to speak. It was in Holly Springs, Clarksdale, Greenville, Greenwood, Mississippi. And the minister's roots are deep there. And so the people were, of course, receptive to us when we went out into the community with the dinners. Yes, sir.
Beautiful. Now, that was just a warm-up question for me. I hope you can still hear me.
Yes.
I guess the big conversation yesterday was regarding the eclipse and its relationship to the latest scripture. I want to know, can you elaborate on what we just experienced yesterday in regards to scripture?
Yes, sir. You should read chapter 75 of Quran and the resurrection, starting around verse 7. And it goes into when the moon and the sun and the moon are brought together. And this was what they call a total eclipse, solar eclipse, a total eclipse. And in the footnote, Maulana Muhammad Ali begins to talk about it. He said, in words, I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it in front of me, but an eclipse. And this eclipse would be, in words, a sign of the coming of the Mahdi and the Messiah. Because in the prophecy of Islam, there would be a time where the Mahdi and the Messiah would come. See, and he talks about that in that scripture. So also, it was on the 8th of April, 4/8. Then there was an earthquake on that day in New York and New Jersey, 4.8. And the lawsuit of the minister was 4.8 million. So brother,
Billion.
I'm telling you, it's something to this one. You see, and what we believe when the sun and moon are brought together is the Honorable Minister Farrakhan has a journey or a rendezvous with destiny. And it's telling us that we are up on that at this moment. We are coming into that. See, that this is about to happen. So we could go further if we need to, but yes, that is not a lightweight thing. And everybody that saw it, people were saying how it is. All they know is something about it. It's something about it. I don't know what. I had talked to my one of my coworkers today, and she went to Missouri with her son to see the total eclipse. And she told me when it became totally dark, the cows sat down. She didn't hear any bees, and she said the birds went crazy at that time. So all of the animals know this is something about this eclipse, and hopefully the minister might spread or share more. But yes, it's in the scriptures.
Yes, it definitely is. If I would have, I actually have the footnote because I sent it out, and I would say go to Sunday's national broadcast, where Student Minister Ismail Muhammad elaborated on it. He lifted that Surah 75, Al-Qiyamah, the resurrection, in verse 7, and he read the footnote. And I actually have the footnote in front of me with the scripture and the footnote. It starts at verse 7, where it says, it's under the section that's entitled Truth of the Resurrection. And starting at verse 7, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, it says, when the sight is confused and the moon becomes dark and the sun and the moon are brought together, man will say on that day, whither to flee? No, there is no refuge. With thy Lord on that day is the place of rest. Man will that day be informed of what he sent before and what he put off. Nay, man is evidence against himself, though he put up excuses.
Yeah.
I would strongly suggest go and listen to that Student Minister Ismail Muhammad commentary on that passage. But in the footnote, it says, Maulana Muhammad Ali, he says, quote, the bringing together of the sun and the moon implies the disappearance of the light of both. So there's a light in the west, and you got reflectors of that light in the west in the student ministers of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So take that. He says, it may be a partial disappearance, as in the case of an eclipse. In that case, the reference may be to what is stated in a report relating to the appearance of the Mahdi, in whose time the sun and the moon will both be eclipsed in the month of Ramadan. During that month. The name of the Messiah and Mahdi being associated with the final triumph of Islam in the world. We are thus told that Islam will not only triumph in Arabia, but in the whole of the world at the latter period in its history. So those passages and that footnote exposes a lot about what happened today. But once again, I say to you, go to noi.org, our platform for the audience that's listening. And it's at the very end of the lecture. Listen to the lecture now. And at the very end, before he leaves the stage, the rostrum, student minister Ishmael lifts that scripture and that footnote, and he gives some commentary on it that I think will be very, very beneficial to those who would go and avail themselves to it.
Yeah. Beautiful. Now you say, hey, you the two of you combined is like a dynamic duo. Y'all, you leave us speechless, brother. I like that.
That man, I'm pointing on that way. He taught me.
No, brother.
Yeah. You call him the Master Fard Muhammad man, because if you was under his tutelage, you learned who Master Fard Muhammad was quickly. So I thank Allah for my student minister. I always call him my minister, and he knows that.
Praise be to Allah. Looking at his bio, I mean, you have put in a lot of work, and you have given the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan helpers, which is a great. You have inspired helpers, which is a wonderful thing, I wanted to touch one more thing. I know we only have an hour show, so we're about to close in a minute. Brother Abdul Shahid, working in the prisons, working in the prison. Now that's been okay. Well, in law enforcement, that's 30 years of experience. But being a student reform minister, how has that journey been? Because we that's part of our culture here, Jock Nation, Jock Brothers. We getting that final call in that prison program. But talk about that prison reform and how important it is for the final call to get in there.
Yes.
But also, how important is it for those of us who to work in that prison, to go in and help and volunteer and give some time in the prison? Because I do go to the jail. Well, I was going to the jail here in Atlanta until they kicked us out.
Yeah.
Praise be to Allah.
Yes, sir, brother. I had the blessing of becoming a part of the prison ministry, of course, under the tutelage of student minister Mufakir. It was around 95, 96. He was visiting the local federal prison here in Memphis, FCI Memphis. And there was another one in Millington. So being new in the ministry, he said, brother, come go with me to the prison. So I went with him. And he spoke and he told me essentially, okay, brother, it's yours now. Now keep in mind, I'm very new. I was working in the jail for the Shelby County Sheriff's Office at that point. Yes, so I'm new. I wasn't quite 2 or 3 years old in the nation. So he took me with him and he said, brother, don't get into debates. Stay on self-improvement. You teach that. Don't teach nothing else. Don't go way out over here and over there. So I followed those instructions to the T. And to this day, I still stay there. And but going into prison, brother, I learned as time went on just how essential it is, because essentially many of our brothers and sisters are languishing in prison. And brothers, because I haven't visited the sisters, but I would imagine they are having the same experience. Because, brother, some of the best of our brothers are on lockdown, because it's kind of like they are the segment or those amongst our people that don't fit into or hadn't fit into the society. And I've met some of the most brilliant men hidden away in prison houses. In fact, there's a scripture in Isaiah that speaks about our brothers and sisters being hidden away in prison houses and none want to reform them. But my experience is unique in that I got into law enforcement at the hearing the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan saying that we should police our own communities. Well, I was already working in the local jail. So, and I wasn't the only brother. There's a brother, Michael 2X Muhammad. He was 2X then, but he's Michael 2 Muhammad because we got more than one Michael. And we were working for the sheriff's department. And so we said, well, brother, let's apply for, to be a sheriff or police. Well, the sheriff's department didn't want no Muhammads on there in their department because they told me straight up, man, it's your name. I said, well, I ain't changing my name because when the Honorable Louis Farrakhan gave us that name, I took mine legally. That's absolutely. I went down to Chancery Court and typed up my documents and had it done. Me, my wife, and my daughter. But at any rate, Memphis Police Department accepted it. So I'm already working in the prison, and it was a unique experience. And at the outset, brother, there was some trepidation about letting the brothers know in the prison what I did professionally. But the thought came to me. I said, well, I want to see if Master Fard Muhammad is real. Because I knew it was only a matter of time as a police officer, you're going to run across some brothers you locked up.
Yes, sir.
So, while teaching one night, I told the brothers what I did. And the funny thing about it, I told my wife, I said, well, honey, if something happened to me, don't put all the money in the ground now. Just put me in the box and send me on about my, I'm laughing, but it was really serious, because you go behind the walls, man, it ain't guaranteed you coming out of there now.
Not at all. Yes, sir.
You go there playing brothers, it's not an ego stroking thing when you're teaching in prison or trying to share the teachings in prison. They come out, it ain't no whole lot of go ahead and bearing witness. So, and then when I told the brothers, of course, afterwards, maybe a few sessions later, a few visits later, I get the question, well, brother, how can you be a police officer and in the nation at the same time? Now, mind you, I'm in there, it's just me. I ain't got my gun, no badge. I got a Bible and a Quran, and I'm in a suit and a bow tie. So I just asked them, I said, well, brother, you get paroled, you come out of prison, you want to celebrate with your family, you're happy you're out, and you probably going to do what you used to do. You're going to go out, and you all may have some drinks, and say you're driving home, you get pulled over. I said, who would you rather have come up to the driver window of your car? Me? Or what we have traditionally experienced as Black people as it relates to being mistreated? Not that I would, circumvent the law, but that you will just be treated and handled and your humanity will not be disrespected.
Right.
And that answer, by Allah's permission, was certainly sufficient. And the brothers understood. And then I ran across some articles of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad about how to police our community, the Black police officer. As a matter of fact, Student Minister Dimitri Muhammad developed a book based on that, how to police the Black community. So, but prison reform, dear brothers and sisters, just to wrap up answering the question, it is vitally important because ultimately those brothers are going to come out, many of them, of prison, the vast majority of them, and they will be living among us. So if we would just, and I have to go to scripture, Jesus judged nations based on their willingness to visit the prisons. Because, those came to Jesus. I can't remember the exact language in the scripture, but it says, I was in prison and you visited me not. I was hungry, you fed me not. I was naked and you clothed me not. And they asked Jesus, Lord, when were you in these conditions and words? And we did not do these things. And he said, inasmuch as you have not done it unto the least of these, my brethren, you have not done it unto me. Well, the Nation of Islam has been on the tip of the spear, so to speak, as it relates to prison reform and going into the belly of the beast, where the brothers are, to the point to where many prisons, when they see us coming, it's like they put up every obstacle possible to keep us coming.
Yes, sir.
I have to say, brother, because of the instructions that I got from Brother Muthakir, I never allowed myself to get into debates. with brothers, because they love to do that in prison now. I always stuck to self-improvement, because if it's prison reform and the prison is not reforming us, brothers, and when you're going to ultimately get out, what are you going to do while you're here to lessen the likelihood of you coming back? Because if you go out of there with the same mind that you came in with, you will most definitely come back. And most of the brothers see the logic in that. So many of them would engross themselves in the teachings. And even if they don't join the nation, there are brothers to this day that I've met in prisons in Tennessee and in Arkansas in particular, that I still get calls from and I'm still in touch with. And they're in the ranks in various places in the nation. Shout out to Brother Randy in Chicago. He works with the security team. I first met Brother Randy in FCI Forest City, Arkansas. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Answered it.
Brother Muthakir, would you like to touch on that as well?
Well, all I would just say is that subject, self-improvement. See, you can always fit that. It's universal. So with self-improvement, I can talk to a Christian because the Quran says reasonable obedience is required.
Absolutely.
So if I say I'm a Christian, then I should know some basic rudiments of Christianity. If I say that I'm a Muslim, there's some basic rudiments of Islam I should be able to do. So when you talk self-improvement, you can touch everybody because everybody knows they need to improve. So now with self-improvement, it forces me to look at me and not everyone else. Because like you said, the set tripping, everybody want to say, I'm the real Muslim, y'all ain't the real Muslim. I'm the true Christian, y'all. And see, sometimes we fall into that as well, you know. But if you stay with self-improvement, I mean, it opens up all the doors because many of the chaplains and all come out and want to hear what we say. And if they hear us teaching self-improvement, they're gonna have to bear witness that that man telling the truth there, because that's what it's about. It ain't got nothing to do with the best religion is the one you're gonna practice, really and true. You can call it what you want, but which one you gonna practice? You can call yourself anything. But what am I seeing you do? You sitting in here. So now let's be honest. Whatever your religion is, it didn't say do what you did to get in here. Whatever you call it, whatever you want, it didn't tell you that. You did that. And so that's what I want us to stay on, is that kind of teaching. And that's the best way to reform in the prison. Make the person look at themselves and not everybody else. Because we'll sit in there and blame white folk, you know, that kind of thing. I'm sorry.
No, you gotta be sorry, brother. We need that.
May I share something, brothers? An experience in the prison.
Absolutely.
That
Yes, sir.
I was, of course, going into prison. You have different. Of course, you have Christians, but even among the Muslims, you have quote unquote Sunni Muslim, and then you have nation Muslim. You know, but one night I was leaving FCI Forest City. And the Sunni brothers came out, and about 2 or 3 of them came walking up to me, you know. And, you know, in the prison, brother, you know, it's close quarters when you're in the chapel, right? So when they came walking, the brothers, they stepped forward, you know, and kind of stepped in front of me, thinking that I'm like, you know, chill out, brothers, you know, we good. I can talk to him. And I'll never forget his brother name was Abdul Rahman, from the Sunni community. And he asked me, he said, well, brother, are you the imam for the nation brothers? I said, well, brother, I'm the coordinator, you know, and I would always let them know who sent me, which at that time, Student Minister Anthony Muhammad. He said, well, brother, I heard you all believe that God is a man and you believe in UFOs. And he kind of threw his head around. Then he said, brother, there's nothing in Quran to support that belief. You know, I said, I don't know where this answer came from, but it backed him all the way up. I said, well, brother, just because you hadn't found it doesn't mean it's not in there. So either he gonna say, I know the Quran deep enough to know for a fact that it ain't in there.
Yes,
he gonna go whole. And he did it. He backed up. He said, well, and the next time I visited, brother, he was in our service. and I attributed that to just sticking, not going into a debate with him, trying to prove the point. Just said something quick and got him off and stayed. And when he came, we talked about self-improvement. We didn't talk about no will or God being a man. We talked about what you're going to do to improve yourself when you come out of here to ensure that you don't come back.
Come on, go.
Praise Allah. All right, brothers, man, we sorry we have to end this. So this is the Ramadan hour.
Yes, sir.
But there is a question. There is a question from the audience. Wanted to know, were you friends with Young Dolph? If there was a relationship with Young Dolph, and did it affect you? Did his death affect you if you knew him? That would be you, brother. Yeah, brother Mutakir. Yes, sir.
No, sir. I was not friends with Young Dog. It affected the whole city when he was shot. When my brother was killed, it went all the way up to the minister, and the minister talked to me about it. And I went to his service, his homegoing service, that was held at the stadium where the Grizzlies play. The Forum. It was there. It was held there, and this family allowed us to share a few words from Young Dog. And I wasn't into his music, but sitting at the waiting to speak and just listening to his music, brother was deep, man. And some of the stuff that he was saying, and I was shocked because some of the traumatic things that took place in his life, he actually put it in his music. And things that I would not have shared. But I realized what he was saying was, yeah, I come from this, but this is not going to hold me down. And many of the brothers that he was around, they started talking about how generous he was. And his program for them, in essence, was do for self. Was a program of them doing for themselves. And he allowed them to have the money to their masters and those things. So I really gained a healthy respect for him just knowing some of those things. But no, to answer your question, I did not know him at that time. No, sir.
Absolutely. All right, Jock Nation. Well, we thank you all for tuning in. This is the Ramadan. During Ramadan, we only do 1 hour. But definitely we want to bring them back, and then we can get into further questioning, and get to know our brothers, because our brothers, both of them, are putting in some work, and we are proud of them as a nation. The work that they're doing, we support them 100%, and we definitely want them to keep going and keep feeding this nation of Islam, keep getting the people, resurrecting our people, and definitely bringing those of us in Islam closer to Islam, and those of us who don't know anything about us, making a way for them to learn in a beautiful environment. So we want to thank our brothers for the work that they're doing, and we want to ask you any last words that you would like to say, starting with you, brother Mutakir. You have a big job tomorrow. You are hosting the Man of the Hour tomorrow morning. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan will be addressing us tomorrow. So, brother Mutakir, any final words that you would like to say? You have a big job in the morning.
Well, two things. The first is I want to thank you, Brother Kawi and Brother Jackie, for hosting us and having us, and thank Jock Brothers for allowing us to be on this platform. And the second thing is just what you said. Please tune in tomorrow, 5 a.m. Central Time on the Umar Reflects on Podbean.
You mean Eastern Time, right?
Right, 5 a.m. Eastern Time, 4 a.m. Central Time.
There you go.
That's what I was trying to say. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan will give us Eid talk, and he will close out our prayer line. And I know you don't want to miss it, so come on and get on and hear the powerful words of our beloved minister, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Thank you again, brothers. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Final words, brother Shaheed.
Oh, brother, I echo that sentiment. I also want to thank you, brothers, for the invitation. Greatly appreciate it. And Brother Student Minister Muthakir has already said the rest. Make sure you tune in tomorrow morning, dear family, 4 a.m. Central, 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And everybody pray that technically we have no glitches. I'm pulling out all the stops. And in the event that something happens, that we will still capture his words where they can be replayed in their entirety. So inshallah, we will be successful tomorrow in making that happen.
Oh, absolutely, man. It won't be a Nation of Islam event if we don't have any glitches, brother. We always have glitches. The enemy always fighting us.
Come on now.
But we hit back though. Praise be to Allah, brother. Brother Kawhi.
Yes, sir. Like, first of all, I want to give a couple of shout outs. We got a sister Khadijah tuning in all the way from San Francisco, California. The two of you brothers got a lot of your believers listeners, Cassandra Smithgram. We got our longtime listener, Brenda Muhammad, listening. We got the great brother Patrick from Faith Forums listening. So you got a wide range of people listening. I want you to know that. But I really do thank you two for accepting the invitation to come on the job, brothers. Y'all been great. I'm gonna be honest with you, brother. You got a few requests on my personal text to close this show out with I guess with prayer.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if you ever did a live before, but that'll be something that happened for the first time on the job, brothers. I would love that.
Well, brother, hey, I'd have to do it every morning. I'll give you what I give the Ummah, the community, each morning when we close with Al-Fatiha. And we'll just do that if that's okay.
That's okay.
Yes,
with those that made the request and the listening audience. And just to let people know, I take prayer and of course, I would imagine every Muslim does. Prayer is very, very sacred and serious. So when we petition the Lord of the worlds, I always like to make sure I'm in the right state of mind and we have the proper decorum when we communicate with our Creator. So in the same spirit and manner that we close during the Ummah Reflects and when we're making our regular prayers, everyone where you are, just bow your heads and I'm going to say Al-Fatiha, okay?
Yes, sir.
We're in prayer. Qul a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladina an'amta alayhim. غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. آمين.
Ameen.
Wow, beautiful.
Praise
Well, Jock Nation, you heard it right here. May Allah continue to bless you all. Ramadan Mubarak. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.